Here are 35 online reviews of the audiobook titled, Outliers. Written and narrated by Malcolm Gladwell. 1. Please only focus on the facts of this book. It's a struggle to listen through his overgeneralized narrative on the statistical data. The facts the writer puts together is amazing to know, but the way he puts it is so unbearable to listen through. I hope he could clarify/assure from time to time that he doesn't mean that everybody born/doesn't possess the outlying traits that he described are bound to be doomed, but just statistically less advantaged. Please do not take his word literal and do process if you are looking for life advice. I hope all readers knows better and are not misled after listening to the heavily biased topics, that day-to-day reality does not operate statistically. Please only focus on the facts of this book and avoid taking his comments on the events word to word. 2. Outliers. I disliked this book because it was slanted towards Caucasian examples of what the author termed success, and after the 6th chapter I gave up. It seemed that they equated happiness with being wealthy and entrepreneurial. 3. Great, but for the narration. A long time known study about It's Who You Know, the opportunities that avail themselves, 10,000 hours and fortitude, and damn luck. Outliers, the story of success, written by Malcolm Gladwell, and narrated by him, as well. A fun read, for its content. Read it and get a better understanding of all that went well for you and that all that went poorly for you in life. The big negative is that Mr. Gladwell is not a very good narrator. 4. Interesting take on success. The basic idea behind the book is that your success/failure depends not only on what you do, but on the circumstances you are in. People who had great success also were presented with extraordinary opportunity and took advantage of it. I think the most important point here is that you should appreciate people who made it possible for you to succeed, e.g. your parents, teachers, mentors, and friends. Another important point is that background matters and small advantage at young age compounds to huge advantage later on life. 5. Makes you think. The many examples in the book give a lot of perspective for thinking about how people get where they are. Study hard, patrice hard, and put yourself in the best position to succeed. Comparing yourself to ultra-successful people isn't good because those people are self-made TL. They were given opportunities and they used them. Some just got lucky. 6. Great detail. Worth the listen. The stories are highly detailed and are brought to a point very nicely. The book breaks down cultural, historical, personal, and environmental factors that help shape some of the most successful people in our world today. Each chapter offers different backgrounds of outliers in history. Definitely is an interesting point of view. Not a good read if you are looking for how to give yourself a personal advantage to be successful, but rather offers some insight into how you can better understand your success or possibly impact your potential for success based on the world you were born into. 7. The audio does not match the actual book. The voice was nice to listen to, but there were many times that there was information added or reworded in the audio that was not in the book. I like to have the audio and book because it helps me understand the content better, and when these instances happened, it would confuse me for a few seconds. Don't get me wrong, it was a great book. Just the audio and text not matching bothered me. 8. I simply am overwhelmed and grateful for this book. I have learned more about why I am where I am and even my own culture, Jamaican, after reading this book than I've learned in my 16 years of education. I definitely recommend it and will be reading it like a Bible to attain my own successes. 9. Subjective conclusion of success. I like books and bios from and about successful people much more. While I enjoyed many of the point of views, the why I see is that the author's conclusion of success just as dangerous as the $50 million earning of some corporate CEOs. I regularly read/listen books of successful people all across the board, and in my opinion their stories, lessons are truly beneficial for an individual, while this book more like an opinion of an academic. I guess, I just like and prefer doers more than critics. Again, without the conclusion, the book could have been better for me. It reminds me a bit my high school teachers, who required us what to think of a poem and art, instead letting us be creative. Sad, but valuable experience. 10. Malcolm Gladwell at it again. A very easy listen. Got through half and was excited for the next day to listen more. Since finding Malcolm and Sam Harris, I believe that the self-made man is a myth, and this book really outlines why that is. It makes you wonder what kind of opportunities you've had or will have. Reminded me a lot of Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights book. Highly recommend Outliers to anyone, especially fans of revisionist history. 11. Speechless. I've never read a book so quickly, audible or otherwise. Malcolm's depiction of life, success and his breakdown of how one becomes an outlier is a testament to what it truly means to know and understand our history and why we become who we are, as well as the limits we seem to place on ourselves to avoid who we are capable of being. 12. Excellent book. I'm not sure what I was expecting to hear when I purchased this book, but I am so pleasantly surprised and thrilled with this purchase. The book was so well written, detailed, informative and had well supported theories. This book has truly changed my life in that it has given me a new way of thinking about success, life, child rearing, family, community, my personal impact on others and the responsibility I have to do and be my very best for the human community at large. This was extraordinary. Very well done. 13. Pessimistic excuses to demotivate everyone. The author is basically arguing that all phenomenally successful people are products of the privilege and luck. While there is some validity to his argument, it clearly devalues hard work and effort. It's so ignorant. It tries to blame culture and community you were brought up in for your successes and failures. It's so pessimistic and miserable. It's a waste of time. 14. Insightful. Outliers includes a detailed analysis of environmental factors, culture, year, upbringing, etc., that helps to explain the exceptionalism of several individuals in different contexts, hockey, law, computer programming, etc. The book, in some sense, is a critique of rugged individualism, and it is definitely convincing and strong in its argument. The audiobook is an easy listen and short. The book is easy to digest. 15. It helped me to look at the world differently. I love it when an author writes in such a way that it helps me see the world from another perspective. This book is a great example of that. It has me reflecting on how I'm raising my own 5 kids and what I can do differently. I'm also looking at how I'm going about my own career, and I'm seeing why I've had success and wondering if there were other reasons and if I can create new success. 16. Gladwell always delivers a unique take. I've listened to or read most of his books and they all strike at something that ripples under the surface of reality and guides humanity as a whole or individually. He narrates his own book extremely well. I've heard him on a lot of podcasts and he is great speaking in general, but also reads very well. 17. Fatalistic. Interesting points, but he takes great pains to disqualify years of work in favor of circumstances and luck. He'd have you think the 70% of millionaires who came from humble beginnings are a mere product of their environment. It's folly but entertaining if taken with a grain of salt. 18. Opportunity meets preparation. Outliers downplays the effort required for sky-high success and instead focuses on the luck angle. Although a bit unfair in how lopsided it is, I instead see it as a balance. The self-made man myth is ubiquitous to the point of being entirely unquestioned in America and is in desperate need of such balance. As with all of Gladwell's books, even if you find individual stories to be cherry-picked and unrepresentative, they are no more so than other books of the genre. More importantly, these stories still make valid, and criminally underreported, points which more people need to internalize. No one denies that effort, character, innovation, hard work, and intelligence are required for greatness. Too many people deny that unfair luck and opportunity are also required. This is the balance brought by Outliers. 19. Good but wrong about science. Gladwell writes an interesting book here, and he certainly brings forth many interesting stories and examples of environmental influences on kids' outcomes. I think he overplays his hand a bit and ignores much of what biological science say about these things. For example, Asian kids being better at math, well, they are still better at math even when they are raised in or adopted into another culture or country. Maybe rice farming did make them better at math, but this characteristic goes beyond mere culture because you can remove culture and it still remains. The same goes for much of the other topics in the book. There's a bit of liberal fantasy about the whole thing, like Gladwell wishes the world were a certain way and then just starts pretending it is as he wishes, regardless of contrary evidence. 20. What's the point? I couldn't get the point of the whole idea of the book. Shall the football players not been born in Jan stop playing just because they born in the ring date? I believe the book could be more of small talks, not a book. The only reason I completed this book is to understand what the author is trying to prove. I also think the performer voice is a bit annoying, sorry. 21. A good reminder to have gratitude. This book was an insight reminder to show gratitude to the many people and circumstances that came before, that provide us with the opportunities we have. Though it does not make much mention of the importance of taking advantage of such opportunities, and the imperative strengths of the individuals who did, I felt that no such emphasis was necessary, and enjoyed the perspective that was presented. Knowing the role that circumstances have in success, it gives us the insight to work to create those circumstances for our posterity and those around us who are found without them. 22. One of the hundreds of similar books. Another book is written using the same formula. Use several life stories and spice it with a tiny bit of conclusions. The whole book should take 20 to 30 minutes top. But in this case, we can't sell it. So, what should we do, right? Let's add several stories. I think this is a useless book, with no new ideas, and I believe the author didn't put much thoughts into it at all. But, if you are interested in several small biographies, then okay. But if rather listen to some podcast. 23. Mind-changing. This book is incredible because it truly provokes the thought process and helps define true success and the reality that each of us has the ability to create change. Though your surroundings and chance play a major role, it is up to you to exploit the opportunities and take advantage of owning the opportunity. Great read. 24. The most eye-opening thing I've read to date. I cannot think of a book more revealing or interesting than this one. Reading this inspired and baffled me. I found myself gasping numerous times at truths I couldn't believe, but were so obviously staring me in the face my whole life. I cannot say enough good things about it. I'm revitalized and ready to level up my business through what I know now must reach at least 10,000 hours of practice and some seriously good luck. Read this book. I guarantee you won't regret it. 25. The first half was riveting. I enjoyed the first half of the book. The facts and figures made sense and were pertinent and relevant. The second half was more describing cultures and why some generate more successful people than others. Not certain that I agree with all of the conclusions, but the book overall is entertaining and was worth the purchase. 26. Gets you thinking. Just finished #Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. It was great. I do want to mention why. I was really intrigued by the multiple analogies and parables used in so many famous and ordinary people's lives. Ranging from Bill Gates and Bill Joy to geniuses like Einstein and autodidacts like Chris Langs. To pilots to rice farmers to Jamaicans to the people in the Deep South and finally people like me who are just very lucky. I loved how he was able to encompass all of our strengths and weaknesses to help us realize how the outliers are created in our world and how we can become or already are, our own outlier. Definitely a book that makes you go, huh. 27. Very dragging. The narrator and the way this book is written was a bit dragging for me from the very start, but after a certain point, not that far into the book, everything just got so repetitive. Yes, concrete examples are nice, but that's basically all of it. He makes his point that outstanding people had certain uncontrollable advantages with regard to timing and general life situation. That point is rephrased again and again and again. 28. Success deconstructed. Gladwell deconstructs the notion of self-made with each and every example as what we would classify as out of the ordinary. He brings those awe-inspiring traits to a perspective that easily explains how astounding success is shaped by just the right situations and circumstances. 29. Great read. Highly recommend. I really like the way Malcolm Gladwell put things into perspective when it comes to the many ways our generational and cultural upbringing can influence our success. I appreciate the way the book ended on a more personal note, which has made me come to understand and respect him that much more. Highly recommend this book. 30. Simple yet complex. This was my first Malcolm Gladwell audiobook. I also read along a copy of the book. The examples used are golden in how they intertwine lessons about culture, environment, and opportunities given. This is a must-read for any, young or old, entrepreneur or someone wanting to understand how someone comes to bestow the chances at success. Thank you, Malcolm Gladwell. 31. Debunking the myth of rugged individualism. An insightful look into the social, societal, cultural, familial, economic, and other factors that allow an individual to succeed. Hard work alone is not enough but needs opportunity provided by the aforementioned factors. Everyone who believes that the super rich attain their fortune on their merit alone should read this book. 32. Excellent book. I completely subscribe to the philosophy that there is an element of luck in every successful person's story. And the flip side, I've never subscribed to the notion that we can be anything we want to be. This book provides evidence to support that perspective. This doesn't mean hard work doesn't pay off. Of course it does, but the opportunity to work hard does not present itself to all of us. Excellent book, and Gladwell's delivery of the content was perfect. 33. Good but not what I was expecting. Edit: I would recommend listening to the end interview first. It put the book more into a perspective I wish I had during the book. As I said in my comment below, that the book is very respectable and brings up very interesting coincidences that relate to background and circumstance. It could simply be because that I went into the book with specific expectations. In a way, Gladwell changed my idea of what an outlier is. In my mind, I always imagined an outlier as someone who goes beyond all odds and makes it. Someone who stands out and is just different from the crowd. This book goes on to show that many outliers we see today are simply people who are lucky by circumstance. Born in the right place at the right time of year, or just simply right time in history. In the end, it is still a respectable book, but I do feel that it fails to calculate the times that we live in. We aren't simply born and a victim to circumstances, and we have the ability to move, change or manipulate our circumstances in many ways. 34. Amazingly insightful. I love that I'm listening to this book in the voice of the person who had written it. There's a higher level of connection and understanding to what's being said as it's conveyed by the actual source of ideas from which the book was conceived. A magnificent breakdown of the simple, yet strange, idea that outstanding success in life is a wonderful, intricate mix of genetic and cultural happenstance, environmental and societal influence, and most importantly, obsessive work ethic and passion for what you do. 35. Outliers. Malcolm Gladwell has a very interesting perspective on why and how people have gained their success. He presented many points I hadn't considered. As an educator, I found the last few chapters very interesting. However, I was wondering where he was going with the rice paddies. A bit long-winded there. Also, I found the aircraft data beyond the necessary information to round out his point. Mr. Gladwell tends to end sentences in lower tones. There were times when I had to turn the volume way up. Other sections I just couldn't make out. Overall, a good read. I will enter this reading material in my professional development portfolio. Enjoy. Thank you for watching. Please, do not forget to subscribe, like and share this video. Tune in for more online audiobooks reviews.